Hello, everyone, and welcome to this second webinar on eco justice for all and the series on especially climate action, conflict, and peace. And just before we start, I'm going to give the floor to Darcy for some welcoming words.
Greetings from New York. My name is Darcy Neal. I'm a board member and UN representative for the Temple of Understanding, which is a 64-year-old organization that advocates for the secular values, for interfaith values in the secular setting of the United Nations. And our focus for the past 14 years has been specifically on supporting the sustainability goals and how we can raise the awareness and initiate action from interfaith actors and followers on the impact of the climate crisis, right? And how it's affecting all of the sustainability goals and our ability to achieve those. We're joined today by our group of 2024 interns. They're here for the summer, well, for about 5 weeks in New York. They're participating in, at, and around the UN and enjoying New York, of course. But really the focus of this program, which we've been doing for about 20 years, is for the interns to focus on the skills and passions of their own selves, and us for also to look at the next generation of international leaders. So I'm going to turn it back to you, Flora, who for the moment perhaps is in Geneva. I'm not sure. Today you're in Geneva, and we look forward to hearing from each of you as we go through this next session. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much. And I hope the interns had a great time and a great internship. Thank you so much, and hello again, everyone. And so welcome to this webinar on Eco Justice for All. I'm really, really happy to be here with you today. First of all, please make yourself comfortable. We're gonna spend the next 1 hour and a half together, so do not hesitate to have your cup of tea or coffee with you and some biscuits. So my name is Flor. I will be moderating this webinar. I am today with like 4 amazing and inspiring young people. So we have Annabelle with us, we have Lucy, Bangi, and Nangila. And before we start, I'm just going to briefly explain how we're going to proceed with today, and then we can jump and hear from these amazing people that we have with us. So first, we're going to hear from our 4 panelists. So they're going to introduce themselves, tell us more about what they do, share around their actions and their thoughts on the topic. And just after that, we're going to have a discussion to really, deepen our understanding on climate action, peace, the interconnectedness between the two, their importance, and like most importantly, also hear the message that the speakers want to spread. And then we'll open the floor for questions from the audience. So don't be shy. I will tell you that again later, but you can, ask your question via chat or raise your hand. But please, do not hesitate. We love to have a great discussion and great questions, so you can already prepare yourself to do that. So again, we have really the great honor to welcome those 4 amazing champions that really fight every day to raise awareness, challenge the status quo, and really bring peace where they are through their very own mission. So thank you, all of you, for being here. And so I think we can start our conversation. And I'm going to give the floor to Annabelle, if that's okay, to start with. Yes, your presentation. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Annabelle and I'm based in Hong Kong. So nice meeting you all. So before I start my sharing, I did bring a song to all of you. So let me share the screen and hope you everyone good morning, but it's 10 p.m. for me now in Hong Kong. So hope this song could bring some joy to you, and please enjoy. is one of song, Mother of the Sea. So as you may like relate, I use music to talk about climate change. So people always ask, oh, what is the relation between music and climate change? So I think music is a great tool and also bridge for people to know more about this topic and also open themselves for open dialogue. So this is a poster that I recreated, which is the power of music to fight climate change. So I believe that music is a universal language, has the power to inspire, educate, and mobilize, creating a harmonious movement for climate change action. So how I combine music with climate change is I host climate change concert. So in every concert, it's around 1 hour where people can enjoy live music and also get to know about different topics of about climate and also SDGs. And more importantly, we will also discuss some topics together. Let's say for climate action, I'll encourage the audience to share what they are doing, what are the obstacles they are facing when they try to do some climate actions. And the feedback is actually quite good because for every climate change concert, there are kids joining, there are elderly joining, there are adults. So they kind of help each other to solve the challenges together and even share their own stories. So the main goal is not about it's about learning about climate actions and also climate knowledge, but at the same time to promote the harmonious movement among the community. So here is another photo. It's like a short, small setting in COP28. So I also host one climate change workshop together with the resilience fighters last year in Dubai, COP28. So yeah, so right now I have hosted around 10 concerts in last year, and yeah, hopefully in the coming year I could share this practice and also involve more musicians to join me together and keeping more people to pay attention to climate change and also involve people who are in the art, culture, and heritage sector to also work for this movement. Yeah, and also by the way, I'm the contact point of a Yango Art, Culture, and Heritage Working Group. Yeah, so yeah, I definitely think music and art have a great and important role to play in this space. Yeah, so nice meeting you all.
Yeah, thank you so much. Maybe just a quick question just before we go to another person is how did you did you wake up one day and think, oh, what if music and climate change, or did you have a thought process, or how did you happen to decide to mix the two together?
Sure, I could share. Actually, I've played violin for 20 years already. It's something I really like, and climate is something I pay attention to. And I found the gap between people and climate change is they don't actually really understand the why it's happening, why it relates to me, and that's why I was trying to combine something I like with the gap in the community that I found. And music is definitely a great open door for everyone, no matter your background, your age, your race. People listen to music, they come. So I try to use the strength of music and then combine it in the climate education. Yeah, climate change education is something I also concern, and I have been advocating in Hong Kong to bring climate change and also sustainability content into the mandatory curriculum.
That's great. Thank you so much. That was a very great introduction. And music, indeed, art plays a very fundamental role in raising awareness and spreading messages also. So thank you for so much for that. Um, I know maybe some people already have questions. Maybe we can keep them. Just so we can hear from the second speaker. So I wanted to welcome Nangila to share a bit also about her work and everything.
Okay, good evening from Kenya. It's evening here. Nangila Wafula is my name. I am an environmental planner and manager. I work with Green Generation Initiative as a communication lead. And it's an honor to be here and to engage in this conversation, especially in such a time as this in my nation. So I think the concept of peace for most of us has always been the absence of conflict and violence. But there are so many situations that do not involve conflict and violence that would render you in a state of conflict minus peace. Now, basically, for the most of my life, I think I've been in a peaceful place, yeah. But until 2007, when Kenya had its first election, then
be able to build in large scale this throughout even the region as well. Next slide.
Oh, okay. So until 2007, when Kenya had its first post-election violence, and then currently what we are having right now, the protests that are going on. And I think that has introduced me to a new concept of peace. I've also encountered peace and conflict in my line of work, where we focus on some aspects of conflict as a result of climate change, which leads to conflict due to the reduction in resources, and people have to fight for whatever resources are left, leading to displacement of some other people, or in cases where you find that solutions to climate change and transitioning to a green economy tend to become a source of conflict, especially to nations in Africa. So that is how I've come to encounter peace, and also seen conflict in my line of work and the importance of peace building. Now, I would just like to highlight two things in my presentation: idealism and the conflict of burden. So in the aspect of idealism, I want to refer to what is currently happening in Kenya. So young people have stepped forth and they have said no to poor governance. They have said no to the current status quo. And we think we deserve better. And we think the government can do a good job, a better job than what it is doing actually. We haven't even received the bare minimum of services that are supposed to be rendered to us citizens, but we are supposed to be comfortable with the status quo. Now, the thing with idealism is that young people are more open and they can easily be moved into taking actions for a better future, because most of them have learned and have come to understand that it is beyond who they are, and they are hoping for a better future. Now, I've come to also see the need for mentorship in this whole process. So right now, the demonstration started peacefully, and we have seen cases where people have been killed, some have been abducted. And now whatever was supposed to be a peaceful way of resolving an issue has become a source of conflict. Now we are in crossroads where we are having the government against its own people. And something that started as a peaceful initiative, as a constitutional right, has become a source of conflict. And now we are having instability in Kenya. Right now, people are not fighting, but people are also not at peace, because young people out there are scared. They might be abducted. People might come in their house. So there's tension. And tension is the first building force for conflict. And right now, the tension is so high. People are scared of walking in the streets in the evening because you don't know who will just carry you and go with you. People are scared of their loved ones going missing because they're being found in locations where they're abandoned. So there's a lot of conflict and tension going on. But the thing that has been clearly depicted with this movement is in as much as young people are proactive into leading such initiatives, and as much as education plays a key role, especially when it comes to conflict resolution and peace building, you can see that clearly in Kenya, because 90% of the people who are protesting in the streets are very well learned. I would say 90% because I don't have the clear statistics, but I know most of them are very well learned, and they're very versed with the topic at hand, and they're very versed with the issues that they are demonstrating against. But then these young people, most of them, the oldest, if we are working with the whole Gen Z concept, the oldest could be 27 years old. So there is the need for mentorship. But now we are having a whole movement of young people who have no one to mentor them. Because yes, they have said it's our first time being young. We have never been old. And the older generation has been old and it has also been young, so they have more experience. But now that barrier, the lack of experience, especially when you're handling a situation that could easily cause conflict, when you have no mentors to guide you through, when you have no leaders who can guide you through such a situation and a time like this, you find young people reaching a point where they are losing the morale that they started with, and you find them struggling to keep up with the same pace that they started with, because now the more they are protesting, the more they are demanding for better things. They're meeting situations that are bigger than them, and conflicts that seem to be deep rooted, and they will need guidance and experience from the older generation. But now the problem is the older generation has already conformed. So now that has become a barrier. But another thing to note when it comes to young people and keeping peace is the role of education and the world becoming a global village. Now, when we, the young people of Kenya, united to demonstrate against the government, we came as young people in Kenya. But you see, the other previous protests that we have had in the nations were ranked by party or tribe. But now we are having a whole group of people that is tribeless and it is partyless. And whenever somebody comes to bring up ethnic rivalry or people trying to incite one tribe against another, you see young people rising and saying no. Even if it's someone from your tribe rising up to tell you to rise up against the other tribe, you find young people saying no. And that is a very critical role of education, because with education, you get to meet different people. You get to learn about other people's perspectives. You get to see people's ideologies that are different from yours. So it allows you to accommodate in new ideas. It allows you to allow yourself to be questioned and to have people disagree with the things that you hold dear to your heart, or the ideologies that you have developed with time. And with young people, education, especially right now in Kenya, education has played a very key role in ensuring the peace that we are having at the moment, even though we are still having those conflicts with the government. But the fact that most of the protests have been peaceful and no ethnic rivalry or any other thing, it's rendered to education. The conflict of burden I also wanted to address is the fact that you find now the older generation has placed that conflict or the role of peace building upon the young people. So are young people actually being empowered to be peace builders, or have they been burdened with the role to become peace builders because we are here cleaning the mess of the older generation? And I feel like it's very imperative for us to understand that young people are supposed to build, not to repair. But now the older generation that we are dealing with right now wants to sit back and say, we are leaving the mantle to you. There's no mantle that you're leaving to young people. What you're doing is you're saying, we are sitting back and allowing you to clear the mess. And that takes a burden on young people, because now they don't have the resources, they don't have the influence needed. And every effort that they are trying to put and to push forward is being met by serious barriers that need resources and influence to overcome. And now the older generation wants to sit back and say, we are leaving the mantle to you. So I believe that, yes, young people play a very critical role when it comes to peace building and also conflict resolution. But it is very important that we have mentors to go before us. And it is very important to have people who are actually good mentors speak up. If you keep quiet, who are the young people supposed to look up to? Education plays a very key role in peace building and ensuring peace, especially among the young people, because it breaks barriers of cultures and tribes and opens you to different ideologies. And finally, the conflict of burden. Young people should not be left with the burden of clearing up mistakes that have been done by the older generation. It should be everybody should put their hands on deck and ensure that we all work together towards a peaceful society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nangila. There are so many inputs from what you said, and in the importance of intergenerational, dialogues and mutual encouragement for young people to have mentors so that they can know where they go, and also for the older generation to be inspired by a youthful generation. That's very important. And also you pointed out the importance of education in bringing and building peace. That is also so important. So thank you so much for all of that and all your insights. And I would like now to give the floor to Bangi also to share his experience, if that's okay.
Hui kwasan winikisak wana wani wanong. Natasuis bungi, no Tomas, wana natai, aquanahana. Good morning, good day, and good night. My name is Bungi. My ancestors and my blood is from Aquina. I also live in Aquina. I am Wampanoag, which is a tribe located on Martha's Vineyard, also across Massachusetts. Martha's Vineyard is a small island located off of the coast of Massachusetts, and we have a rich history full of thousands of years of progress that has been wiped off the earth since the colonizers had come to the Americas. This is an issue that I find is quite important for youth and elders to know because this truth was often buried and lies were told to cover up the horrible incidences that happened inside of my history. However, in recent years, we have gained a significant amount of our culture back. So our language, which was previously almost dead, we have gotten it back thanks to the help of many youth today, as well as many ancestors that have left clues hidden to us, whether this be from artifacts we found while we were digging, or funnily enough, the Bible that was translated into our language and used to take away our culture and history from us, we use that to discover who we are as a people and continue to teach the generations ahead of us. I am part of the first generation to be born back with our language, and I've been grown up speaking it, so I can speak it, decently, of course. Um, I am interested in teaching our youth. So I guess the next generation down from me, I'm interested in teaching them and teaching really anybody. So I work in a museum teaching my language and my culture to people who may have previously been in the dark about um, situations like this. I also work at a after school program and a summer program with my cousins to help them learn and to build them to a future where they can continue to thrive and learn in. This aside, I am very interested in going into agricultural sciences, forestry, things like this. I believe that the way that we can find peace is looking inwards. Each person is born with an inherent peace and love inside of them. The only way that this is lost is by getting taught something or vice versa, being told otherwise. And if we go either into the forest or we go into a garden, we can see the peace and we can see the tranquility that is there inherently. Um, However, in recent years, recent in bold terms, our forests and our plants have been ravished and have been taken for resources that otherwise wouldn't have been used by my people. This may be to fuel, like fuel, or this is a way to have sustainable energy, something that is happening over in Massachusetts on the mainland. Um, they are tearing up old growth pine forests, and these are extremely important. They house like water ducts underneath them, which have been untouched for thousands of years. And these have been a key source in having these old growth forests be able to thrive. The reason that they're tearing up these forests is to house and create, sorry about that, house and create solar panels. So you can see how, what is sustainability if not finding a new way, right? So this may be putting old growth forests in havoc and destroying habitations and everything, or this may be putting windmills up in the ocean, which are now being destroyed by the currents and sending away the whales. So I feel that we need to find a way that we can, as a youth, find a way to be able to sustainably, and I mean sustainably, find ways to continue living on this planet as our ancestors did for thousands and thousands of years. This earth has gone through so much, but right now we are putting this earth in peril. We are putting it in a situation that has never been seen before, a situation that is quite frankly insane and crazy. If our past generations have started to develop these new and you know, like everything, right? They have made everything for us. They have paved the path. But is this path a path that we want to go on? In my belief, we have a story where there is a red path and a yellow path. The red path is where so the path goes like this and then it forks. The path that the colonizers took and that many people decided to take was the red path. This path has led to destruction. This path has led to war. This path has led to famine. This path has led to a majority of things that, us as humans don't find very enjoyable. And the yellow path is a path that I've decided to take, and my siblings and my family have also decided to take. This path will lead us to a new world. This is what our um, creator has promised us. So I fear that too many people are going down this red path, and that our new generation should all follow this yellow path and decide to take actions and steps that will benefit our earth. And this may be finding different ways to be able to create sustainable energy sources or ways to sustain our forests. But this is an issue that is prevalent. It's going to be prevalent. And I'm not sure that, we may wish as much as we can, and we may try and try and try, but this issue, as far as I can see, is not going away anytime soon. And this will be an issue for generations, but we need to give them a platform and a base to stand on for them to continue to help, because what has happened so far is insane and utterly, it's abominable. There's nothing about this. There's nothing about what is happening right now that is good. We only have an outlook, or at least me, I only have a view and a lens from my own perspective. I cannot see what other people are seeing. I cannot believe what other people are believing. However, this doesn't change the fact that I believe what is correct is right, and other people should follow down this path and continue to hopefully support and upbuild our future generations, whether this be through, teaching them sustainable agriculture, which is something that I hope to go into, or having our ancient crafts and culture be passed down, which, as we've seen in the past, has been something that has tried to be like removed or sustained, or not sustained, removed, I guess. But our generations now that we are in, and our future generations, we're going to struggle for a while, and this is inherent. This is something that we can clearly see, and I hope that with meetings like this and our youth today, we can continue to, I guess, create a better world from everything that has happened before. Katapa tontama wanamu wachiwami kyakusanish. Katapa tontama wanamu wachiwami no tonkwasak. Hon. Creator and ancestors, we thank you for all things, and we thank you for everyone here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vangi, again for your very inspiring words and encouraging us to take the yellow path with you. I'm down to take the yellow path. I guess everyone around here would agree, and thank you so much for also underlying the importance of learning from the ancestors, and also the importance of celebrating the culture, and keeping it as something that is very important to pass on to the next generations, and also for underlying the contradictions within sustainability, within the set sustainability that is proposed to our world. I'm sure a lot of people will have many questions for you. So thank you so much for that. And then I will give the floor to our last speaker, who is Lucy, and who will also share her insights on climate and peace.
Thank you so much, Flo, and hi everyone. It's really lovely to see so many familiar faces or names if you haven't got your camera on, and also to meet some new people. Yes, so I'm Lucy. I'm going to be sharing a perspective on interfaith from the UK's perspective. So my work in climate and environmentalism began, I think I would say it kind of really came to fruition in 2021 when the UK hosted COP26, which happened in Glasgow. And I really had the opportunity to engage in the climate space kind of the international climate space. Before that, I had been living in India, where I really was able to kind of witness firsthand the impacts of climate change. Growing up in London, it's easy to kind of feel that climate change is not an issue that is really affecting us, or it's somewhere else in the world. So I didn't really feel personally connected to these issues. So it was only until I was able to have the experience of visiting the Himalayas and talking to people there that I really could see and feel that this is a serious issue. So I came back to the UK and studied for a master's in sustainable development. And just as I was graduating, COP26 was being hosted in the UK. So I come from a faith community, which is a Buddhist community, and in the lead up to COP26, kind of my faith organization started to host monthly webinars, raising awareness on different topics related to climate change. And, I started to hear from a range of guest speakers who were sharing different perspectives from all different parts of the world. And I started to really hear about the term climate justice, and really learning kind of the different what comes under climate justice, and through participating in these webinars, it kind of opened the door to this realm of interfaith, which I had never really been engaged in before. So yeah, that's kind of working with other faith traditions has been a really wonderful experience in many ways. I say that from someone who kind of grew up very anti-religious, I would say. So it really surprises me that I'm now really discovering faith in different ways, and how faith really can be such a wonderful force in someone's life, and also kind of collectively, and have a really wonderful impact on the world. So it's been a really joyful experience. I do have a couple of slides. I feel a bit odd sharing it because this is a dialogue, but they're mostly photos. So if it's okay, I'm just going to go ahead and just share for a couple of minutes. They're mostly photos. Oh, this is not the right one. Sorry, 1 second. That will teach me for coming late to the party. I got my timings wrong, unfortunately. So yes, I'll just put it in present mode. No, wrong one. Okay, so here we go. So firstly, I just want to, maybe in case anyone is not familiar with interfaith, it's kind of different from multi-faith. I think we all can understand what multi-faith is, different faiths kind of coexisting in the same space, but interfaith is very different. So interfaith is kind of people of different faith traditions intentionally working together, purposefully creating goals, sharing goals, and really actively engaging in processes of dialogue and shared action based on dialogue, which brings about a greater understanding and appreciation of differences. So this is something that kind of I was not really so familiar with. I'm very used to being in a multi-faith society where faith traditions kind of stay in their own communities, but the interfaith world was something pretty new to me. Really people coming together purposefully, and working together based on a real commitment to appreciation and respect. So this was COP26 and the first interfaith panel that I was asked to speak on, and I was quite nervous. I was only youth on the panel. But it felt like a really safe space. And I really loved just, you know, all of the things that were being shared. They were perspectives that I just were not hearing in the conference itself, because I was, you know, in the daytime, I was in the blue zone, hearing these very kind of technical, high level discussions. And then I was coming to our events. You know, we had rented a space outside of the conference and engaging in these real, just down to earth, humanistic conversations and stories. And it just felt completely nurturing for my soul after having spent, you know, a day in the blue zone. So after COP26, there was a small group of faith communities that wanted to continue working together. So I also wanted to continue working in the interfaith space. So I joined the Religions for Peace UK Interfaith Youth Network. And this was a, you know, small community of youths from many different faith traditions. And, you know, we really came together, and climate change and environmental action was one of our key priorities. So we did a series of public webinars together. We did a research project where we all worked together for the shared of really trying to bring awareness to climate justice in the UK. Yeah, so because the conversations in the UK were not reaching climate justice, they were just talking about, you know, climate change and what all can we do to solve the problem of global warming. It wasn't touching on climate justice. So, you know, through this network, we were able to advocate for climate justice to be part of the conversations. And I've also, you know, since graduating from this network, I've continued to support interfaith youth activities in the UK. So this picture was taken this February at the Interfaith Youth Summit that happens annually, and it's hosted by the Faith and Belief Forum, which is an interfaith group based in the UK. And every year it brings together hundreds of young people of faiths from different parts of the UK, from different faith traditions. And we really engage in dialogue and discussions and try to come up with shared action plans about what we can do to really take this movement of climate justice forward in the UK. And it's so wonderful to see this space really growing in numbers and enthusiasm each year. Also, we take part in interfaith protests. So I've been on 3 so far. Since I joined a network called Faith for the Climate last year, we've done numerous walks and held vigils. The most recent one we did was outside Shell headquarters up central London, where we stood outside and held a multi-faith prayer vigil. So we do things like this whenever there's, you know, a key event happening. We'll take to the streets in a peaceful protest with our banners, and, you know, people will sometimes cross over the street to avoid us, but sometimes people will really engage and want to talk and understand, and we're able to talk about, you know, climate justice. I just wanted to mention, so in the COP space itself, we really just kind of young people of faith just engage as youth. So we're not trying to, you know, separate and make a isolated group for young people of faith. But at COP27, a few young people of faith came together to organize the very first interfaith youth climate action panel discussion. And I'll talk a bit in a second about why I think it felt important to be able to create a space for young people of faith to be able to share perspectives, because there are some unique perspectives, I would say, that they bring to the conversation that you don't really find a space otherwise to do that. And yeah, so it felt really special and quite like a big achievement when we were able to have this space at COP27 to share our perspectives and the work that we're doing in different parts of the world. So it was myself, Shantanu from India, David, some of you may know from Kenya, and oh gosh, I've forgotten her name. She was from Germany, Michelle, sorry. And at COP28, for the very first time, there was a faith pavilion. And this was really wonderful because it created like a platform for faith perspectives to be shared. So I co-organized an event on youth leadership and faith-based climate advocacy. And this was a mixture of kind of youth grassroots leaders from faith communities sharing their experiences, but also youth climate negotiators who are of faith. And it was really interesting to see the ways in which, they use their faith or they're inspired by their faith in their work to really navigate quite complex kind of negotiation processes. So I think, this was just a really wonderful discussion that we were able to have. And just to quickly conclude, I guess, I just wanted to share a few things that for me, why I really appreciate the interfaith approach to climate action and what it brings that may not be found in other spaces. So shared commitment to climate change that bridges diverse faith communities. Sorry, this is more on what are the benefits, the interfaith action, not benefits, but what are the real positive attributes of interfaith and climate action? I feel that it bridges diverse faith communities that otherwise may not be able to agree. Like other issues it's quite difficult for some faiths to come together on certain issues, particularly gender is a tricky one for faith communities to kind of all find a common ground. But climate change offers, for the most part, kind of a space where all faiths can engage together and really find common ground. And I've seen it really generating deep bonds between not just individuals, but groups as well. And I've seen from COP26, the blossomings of friendships that came from that and the interfaith work was so wonderful. And they still continue to this day. It also inspires individuals to go deeper into their own faith traditions, to really understand what their faith teaches about the environment. And a critique of interfaith is that you kind of have to lose or accept commonalities rather than strengthen your own faith. But I find with interfaith climate movement, people of faith are really going back to their teachings to go deeper and to see what actually does my faith tradition say about the environment, so that it can really strengthen advocacy. I guess that also is my third point about developing a deeper and broader understanding and appreciation of one's own faith and also that of others. And just some of the interfaith values that I feel, some of the values that I feel like interfaith really focuses on, which I find are really helpful and beneficial for climate action. And that is firstly, faith, or some people prefer the word hope, really not choosing to act based on this narrative of fear or despair, but really it's through faith in the goodness of humanity that, people can and will find a way out of these dark times. And that's how I feel, a lot of the people of faith, they just come to the discussion with that perspective, like not prepared to give in to despair. Also, there's a real sense of like, it's about really what can I do for others? I think this is quite a commonality between faith traditions, is really seeking to reach out to those that are suffering the most. And, after our interfaith event at COP27, the group of us were like, what do we want to do at COP28? And we thought, well, we've kind of had our say. We really want to give this space that we've kind of created to environmental defenders, you know, those that are really on the front line. So, and I think this spirit to really, you know, stand on the side of those that are suffering the most comes out a lot in interfaith. And lastly, the value of dialogue. And dialogue, it's not just an action, but it's a crucial approach to working with people of diverse beliefs or ideologies. That, you know, that commitment to having dialogue where, you know, you show a willingness to learn about someone else and the spirit to navigate challenging dynamics based on really striving for mutual understanding and learning. So it's not about just talking and sharing your opinion or point of view, but you want to pursue dialogue because you want to understand someone else, to bridge hearts and to really move forward based on like a deeper understanding of each other, and not trying to convince one another of, you know, take up this belief, but I want to understand your belief so that we can work together. And I'll just conclude by sharing kind of a quote that has really inspired me. And Anjali, you mentioned the word mentor, and, you know, I have a mentor in my practice, and kind of this is a perspective that he's enabled me to see and work in interfaith. So it says, people are tied down by all sorts of obligations and commitments, including national interests and positions. The question is, can we go beyond these and take action for the sake of values universal to all human beings? Can we transform suspicion into trust? Dialogue is the work of inspiring and awakening people on the deepest level to make this possible. That is why dialogue requires patience, perseverance, wisdom, and conviction. Dialogue also enables us to engage with people of different personalities, philosophies, and beliefs, thereby absorbing new information, wisdom, and ideas. Dialogue is the direct path to elevating ourselves as human beings. And that's from Dasa Kurikeda. Thank you so much. Sorry if I've taken more time than I should have, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that last presentation around interfaith climate action and peace, and the crucial importance of dialogue in creating value, deeper mutual understanding, and also like creating a greater force to advocate for climate action. Let me get you all back to, I'm gonna pin all the speakers so we are all there. So we're gonna give the floor to some questions in some minutes. Also, I wanted to tell our speakers, if you yourselves want to ask some questions to each other, it's completely possible, because maybe you had like some insights, suggestions, questions, interrogations on all the presentations that have been done. I think we have an incredibly diverse and rich panel, because we had climate change and the importance of art. We had the climate change and the importance of education and the importance of mentorship in advocacy and protest. We had the importance of our bond with nature and the path that we want to take, if we want to keep this earth living, and if we want to keep living on this earth, because I think the earth will keep living with or without us. And finally, we have also the importance of interfaith. So I think it's incredibly rich what we have here. And so maybe I wanted to engage in the discussion of, I believe, the climate action and peace being the kind of two sides of the same coin. Like, we can use climate action to achieve peace, but peace can also be a way to build climate action. And it's not like peace not only as a goal but as a mean, climate action not only as a goal but also as a mean. So I was wondering, like, what views you had on that aspect of the importance of both of them, and not like just once we have peace we can work for climate, or once we have solved the climate issue, then maybe we can work on peace. If you have some thoughts, please just jump in. And also maybe if you have some experiences of, we often talk about the challenges, but we can also have experiences of victories in your advocacy work on something that work, a good practice in what you've done that could be useful for other people, or things like that. So maybe I wanted maybe to start with Annabelle because you're the first one that we heard. So if you have any insights, or if you want to share more about especially regarding music and things like that, please.
Yeah, sure. Let me share more about the peace side. So, according to my experience, like hosting more than 10 climate change concert in Hong Kong and South Dubai, I found it's music could bring peace and hope to people. So, like Lucy mentioned about Cobb, right? It really recall my memory. Like there are two stories in Cobb, which really like impressed me. So the first one is I met a youth negotiator in the COP28, and I was playing the End of the World. In one of the pavilion, and actually a lot of people came. They came to take photos. They came to enjoy music. But at the same time, there is a youth negotiator come after, like talk to me after the performance, say, "Thank you for bringing such a good music in this political environment." And I think in here, music actually not only as a communicator to talk about what is climate change, or let people just like stay for a while and gather together, but also at the same time it let people to express their feelings. It's something that can heal their heart and just take a break from a headache environment. So I think mentally, emotionally, music is something that can help. And another story that I would like to share is when I was performing in the Extreme Hangout, I found music can really unite people when they talk about climate actions. They open up their heart. When musicians come together, they not only like play music together, but they open up themselves to share about what's happening in their country, share about what the challenges is. And I feel like music helps people to open up themselves, and especially in this topic, in climate change topic, it's very important to really open up yourself and have an open dialogue. I found sometimes why people are reluctant to climate action is because they are not sure what to do, or they do not know the clause, don't know why it is relate to me. But with a platform that have peace, that have hope, that they can share openly, this is the key of letting them and educate them why you are doing this and taking climate action. And this is how they change themselves and start their own climate actions. So this is some of the observation that I had, and also some stories I would like to share.
Thank you so much. That's really inspiring indeed, because sometimes we can meet with people who like we can feel so powerless and we don't know where to start, so we don't start, and then there's no action. So thank you so much for sharing that. I don't know if Nangila, you wanted to jump in and say something. I know that you've talked a lot about the importance of mentorship, and also the importance of learning from uh, the older generations. I don't know if you have some experiences um, about it, or if you want to share something else.
Uh, uh, I have not been mentored, and I have not mentored anyone in regards with peace. But what we do at Green Generation Initiative is we try to raise an environmentally conscious generation. And we train our kids to understand what it means to be where they are right now in regards to environmental conservation and climate change. So we also help them to be able to think critically and creatively so that they can come up with innovative ways to adapt to the impacts of climate change, so that they can be the next generation that provides solutions. So in regards to mentoring young people, we have been working towards that. But I would also want to highlight how important it is to have solutions that come, how important it is to listen to communities and to listen to young people, and also to pay attention to the impact of the things that we are pushing forward to different communities and different nations. Like in my sector where I work, climate change and environmental conservation, right now we are pushing for transition to green energy. We are also pushing for adaptation and mitigation of climate change. But it is very important for us to understand the repercussions of some of the things that we are putting in place as solutions or strategies, and the impacts that they have to our communities, and how it is so easy for us to perceive something as a solution and it turns out to be another source of conflict, messing up with the peace that is already clearly almost non-existent in this continent. So in regards to this, I would like also to paint a picture of the way every company, every government is trying to advocate, every NGO, environmental NGO, is trying to advocate for just transition to cleaner energy. But do we really understand the repercussions of just transition in regards to conflict and peace in the African continent? Case study of Congo. And you can see in Congo right now, I know the war has been there for a while. I know it is something that has been there since the country gained independence. But we also need to look at the repercussions of some of the so-called solutions to the people of Congo and how we are making it even worse for the war. Right now, coltan and cobalt and all these aluminium, all these minerals that are being used for the renewable energy devices and solar panels, most of them come from Congo. But in regards to human rights protection, even as we try to transit to just energy and green energy, that is also a very important aspect that we need to look into if we are trying to build peace and reduce conflict. Also, another thing I would like to highlight is the carbon credits market and the repercussions of the different strategies that we are having governments and corporations evicting people from their ancestral land to create space for carbon credit markets and forests. But we also need to understand how this is also a source of conflict, because these people, when they're displaced, they'll feel like the government is not working in their favor. And as they're being displaced, and some of them not even compensated for the land that has been taken away from them, they go and move to other places where they create another population pressure, and you have people fighting for the same resources. So it begs the question of whether these solutions that we are trying to push forward, especially to the African continent, are they really for the good of the continent, or are we just pushing for the sake of meeting the numbers and the targets? And how do we protect our people? How do we protect our businesses and our communities while we also try to address these challenges? And I know the climate space is so much with money, and everybody wants to do something in environmental conservation, and the funds are moving very fast and everybody wants to be a part of it. But my parting shot to the young people who are here is that we are the new thinking pattern. We need to be able to think beyond the current, the now, and also in the future, because sustainability is thinking of the present and the future generations. So while it is true that we have inherited the repercussions of poor decisions made by the older generation, it is very important for us right now, as we are thinking of today and tomorrow, to come up with solutions that make us different from the older generation. How do we perceive our next generations? Are the things we are doing right now making sure that the next generation can also be able to thrive and survive in peace, and not have to struggle with some of the things that we're also struggling with? Because I believe this conversation we are having right now, there are people who have had these conversations for the longest time. But I think the core solution to all of it is behavior change. We need to change the way we think. We need to be empathetic. We need to go back and think about, in Africa, we say the spirit of Ubuntu. Yeah, you care about your brother, you care about your sister. You do not think short term, but think long term in regards to the things that you're doing and the repercussions that the solutions or the ideas or any initiative that you have may have to the peace of the community that you're working within. Therefore, if you have a vision and a dream, stay true to your dream and to your vision. Do not be swayed by short-term gains. Do not be swayed by greed. Let us be that generation that brings about new change, fresh perspectives. Let us not think like the other people, because most of us, when we get to the tables, we start thinking like the older generation instead of bringing in new perspectives. And I guess that is why most people don't want to listen to us. But if we stay true to our vision and become the change that this world desires to see, I believe we can achieve a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a very empowering to hear you, and there was a big emphasis on what I would call the human rights approach to environment. Also, in what you say, it's not only about um, green energy and transition, but also how it doesn't affect community, or how it really benefits from everyone in the local community as well. So thank you so much. I don't know if Bangi, you want to share a bit, or also share more even about the work that you do with the kids you're teaching.
Yeah, so for sure. So as mentioned before, I work for the tribe. So I'm a part of the Aquinnah Wampanoag tribe. And so we have an after school program and a summer program. And so I teach them to make things like this. And um we we strive to teach the children the way of their past, and the people who came before them, what they left for us, and the gifts that they brought. So we have things like this, right? And then, you know, just all kinds of different things. And I really think that education is the way to build a new society, or build one that can flourish even more. So I enjoy learning, of course, but I also like to teach others who may have been misinformed or disinformed based on the circumstances that they were growing up in. That's why I work in museum as well, so I can teach people about my culture and about my perspective, because often the truth, at least for older generations, for what happened to my people, the Native American people, was told it was a lie, right? Because a lot of people were grown up believing, like, at least in America, that, oh, um the Europeans came and then they had a big Thanksgiving meal and they all sat down and they all had hunky dory and everything was all fine. But in all actuality, what happened was quite opposite. What happened and what is still happening is that we were getting suppressed, we were getting killed, we were getting our land stripped from us and our culture taken away. We were getting sent to boarding schools to teach the children what was right, or, well, I guess at that point, what they perceived as right. um what was what was happening, and what it still is happening today, is that our history and the truth is getting suppressed, right? This is getting less of an issue, as what really happened is like beginning to sprout with people like me and people like you guys who are interested in teaching. This is a issue that I'm really hopeful that it can be um like absolved and can be quickly, you know this lie will not be told anymore. So I've written a bunch of things for school about this, and it's really something that I hold close to my heart, because it's what my ancestors went through. And back to the path, we are inherently born with an innate sense of innocence, right? we when we're born, when we come out of our mothers, we don't know anything, right? The only thing we know is that we love our mom and we love the people who are around us. We are innocent. Then it's the environment that will shape us. It will teach us who we are and what we believe. So I choose to take the yellow path, and teach the children and teach the people what is correct, what is right, what is the truth. So this may be through going to the museum and teaching the people who have been taught wrong, this is what really happened, this is the truth, or teaching the younger ones, to make things like this and to keep our culture alive and to keep it, thriving, which is something that I worry about because the generation before me has fought so tremendously to get this back, and I worry that my generation is not taking interest to it. So, if I can't rely on my cousins or I can't rely on my brother or, any other people like this to continue it, that burden is put on me. And so I will take this, I'll take the information that I know, and then I'll teach it. Because yes, the kids will listen to the adults and they'll sit there and they'll listen, but if they have someone who's an older cousin to them and they will listen and they'll think and they'll start to understand, which is my goal. I wish to, continue off what they left off, what they made the language, they gave us back our crafts. I want to continue this because they gave it back to me. It was a gift to me and my generation, and I want to continue to give this gift to the further generations down. Um, that's really all that I have to say, but you know, oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. And it's so important because in other parts of the world, it seems also that history is repeating itself, right? And that colonization or even neo-colonization is still something. And the idea of, a power imposing another culture on indigenous land is quite a huge sorry issue. So I think the work you're doing in raising the new generation and how to be also proud of who you are and your past is so tremendously important. Lucy, if you have anything to share also, I think I know Daniela mentioned Ubuntu, and I know also Bangi mentioned about the idea that peace is something that is inwards, and so there was a lot of spirituality I felt in what they shared, and that also is quite linked to interfaith. So I don't know if you had anything you wanted to say about what we've talked about.
Yeah, thank you. I think, speaking about kind of, beliefs that we've been taught, one thing that, in my context in the UK, we've really been, it's been taught to us that us and nature are separate, that, we are not part of nature, but kind of above nature in some way, that we have the ability to control and, not that, but that is what has come out of this perception that we are in some way superior, the element of thinking that we can control and use nature and the environment to our gain. So that is really, those actions and behaviors really come out of the belief that we are separate. We've kind of created this gap between ourselves and nature. And I think for me, it's really been, in my kind of journey in climate action, I've had to make peace with myself first. I've had to really undergo a process of deep unlearning of what I thought was the case, was actually not the case. And that is not, something that I've been able to just adopt intelligently, but it's only been through, my faith practice and a kind of this awakening from within, rather than, something being taught to me outside. It's something that I've really had to seek internally to understand. Because I think only when we are moved from within and we can bring out the truths inside of ourselves, that we are then able to see things from a different perspective and then act in a different way. So we call, a term that we use in my human revolution, and that is kind of really a core part of.
So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna tell her in the chat that she froze, and maybe we can move on to the question and answer if people have some questions. Oh, she disconnected. So, so the concept she was talking about is human revolution, the idea of transforming oneself from the inside so that you can transform the environment. Just summarizing very briefly, like what she wanted to explain. So maybe I know maybe the interns have some question. Maybe the audience have some questions. So please go ahead. I see. Yeah, maybe we can unmute and have um,
Perfect. Hi, my name is Amelie. I'm from Germany. I have a question for Bongi, because as a member of the Wampanoag tribe, who's, as far as I know, is historically like inhabiting Massachusetts, including Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, which are like the hubs for the American elite to vacation, like have homes there. What is your perspective and experience to the tourism to the area? And how does this influx of people affect the prices in the area, but also the natural areas of those islands? And in that vein, are there ways to have a more sustainable tourism to those islands?
Yes, so you're very correct, actually, like on point. Um, Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket were places or are places that are like seen as really rich, and like all the billionaires come out here, and Barack Obama, the former president, is out here. Um, this influxes the prices of everything, so it is nearly impossible to live here if you are not wealthy. So, take for example, like you're going grocery shopping for maybe like a week, that could be $200 or up, just for simple groceries. And with the tourism comes destruction of everything. So I go down to like the beaches at like now this time of year to go collect some of our traditional plants and our traditional medicines, and they are completely gone. They've been ripped up. What's happening is that down at one of my favorite beaches, um the tourists have climbed up on the dunes and ripped up all the beach grasses and all the fruiting bodies up there. So the beach is literally washing away. We have to import sand every few years to the beach to keep it a beach. And we have to go out and plant the seagrass again that they rip up, because it is such a substantial issue that has um been an issue that and I really hope it ends, but I don't think it's going to, because people don't listen. As well, up where I live, up in Aquina, there is the cliffs that are made out of natural clay. And so this is sacred to us. This is um it is the island. It is made out of the huge cliffs made out of clay with the beautiful colors. We have red, white, yellow, black, and tourists will go up on the clay and rip it up and take it off and take it home, or bathe themselves in the clay and do all these things that people say, oh, it's good for your skin, and this, that, and the other. This has led to the rapid erosion of the cliffs. We estimate that in 10 years there will not be the colors anymore. The colors will just morph into one, and these cliffs have been there for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and in the past 100 years they've eroded down to almost nothing. Only further exacerbated by the fact that climate change will continue to, cause the weather changes and cause the larger storms. And it's getting harder for me to go down and collect the clay, because I make it for gifts, and I have it as, you know, like tribal things, right? Um, it's substantially harder to get the clay anymore because the tourists go over there and they rip up the whole thing, and it's just really a pain. I feel that um when the tourists come here, that they can be educated further based on what's happening like on the island, and they can be taught some of the values that we hold as a tribe, that like respect the land. And there just needs to be more like signage, because it is a federal crime to touch the clay, and no one knows this and they touch it anyways. So there needs to be like signage. And I'm part of the youth group up here, or the youth council up here for my tribe, and I'm the treasurer, so I deal with all the funds and stuff. But we're working on putting signage out on the beaches to tell people not to touch it and to warn them about what can happen. But I feel just education in total would help, you know. I feel like common sense a little bit there would also tell you maybe don't touch the sacred ancient clay. So, you know.
Thank you so much. Just maybe to follow up, do you feel like there is a way to, because there's, I mean, there's such large amounts of money in this area because like there are some people who live there full time or like some people who have homes there. There's so much money in this area. Is there, in your opinion, a possibility, I know this is hard, but like for redistributing that wealth to go to those communities who are indigenous to the area? Like, are there any initiatives by local government to maybe redistribute the funding? Because there is, I mean, there's so much money there, so it's just insane to me how those communities are suffering so much when there's so much wealth in that area.
Right. So there's a disconnect between the normal people and then the billionaires. So you can really see the disconnect where they don't understand or they don't or I guess they don't care. I'm not sure which is ways because I'm not them, of course, but um it's like they're not really like giving their money away to these things that will be able to help because they're just so stingy with their money. Um, but we as a tribe get money from the federal government and we are using this money to put up signage recently. Um, we're currently in the midst of putting up signs right now. We're putting everything together. Right now I think we're just in the final stages. But the billionaires, they don't care. Like from what I see, it's like I'm gonna be like a little bit bold here, but they just don't care at all. They don't care about what they're doing. They don't care about what they're doing to other people. They don't care that they're ruining the land, and they don't care that they're making it impossible to live here. They think about themselves. They only think about themselves and what they can gain from it. So it's, you know, some of them are nice and some of them are willing to give their money, but a majority of them are like, oh, what if I don't? What if I just keep it? You know what I mean? So it's, you know, it's like they just don't care from what I see. So it's, you know.
Thank you so much. Indeed, tourism is something that needs to be worked on. Do we have any other questions from other interns in the room? Yes. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex. I'm a high school student from the UK. I had a general question for the panel. I was just wondering what everyone's opinions are on the radicalization of climate justice, which is something we're seeing a lot in the UK with campaigns like Just Stop Oil. I know that a lot of you are talking about this idea of climate justice and the interconnectivity with peace. And from my own understanding with the brief interactions I've had with members of these sorts of organizations is that a lot of their sort of advocacy is coming from a place of real anger with what's happening with the climate. We're seeing people blocking roads. There's ambulances in the UK that can't get to where they need to be. Do you think at all that this sort of advocacy is helpful in any way? And if it isn't, how can we change their approach in a way that doesn't undermine their advocacy?
Thank you so much. Does anyone wants to jump in and give a view?
Sure. Yeah, so I just talked, but I I'm a firm believer that if people want to change something, they need to do it in a way that will not seem too super drastic. Or but from what we've seen with Just Stop Oil, they are going about and um vandalizing, you know, ancient history and stuff that, okay, well, I can see that you really want to stop oil, but what does Stonehenge have to do with fossil fuels, right? Or what does like these really historical pieces, like, okay, I can understand that you don't want people to use oil, but what are the stones gonna do? What is the paintings like? What are they like? Right? Do you see where I'm coming from? And it's to the point where they are borderline destroying these these historical pieces. If you want to do something, you need to find a way that the companies are looking from and be like, hey, maybe let's tone it down a bit, or let's do this, and eventually and gradually we can change. But these huge movements where they're like destroying paintings or spraying all kinds of different whatnot on different things it's not helpful, it's not useful. I can see where they're coming from, but I don't see the effectiveness of it.
Thank you. Maybe someone has another view or something to add on?
Can I add something?
Sure, go ahead.
So my personal view is that it's wrong. It's wrong because one, while I understand that frustration may build up because sometimes what may seem like peaceful tactics do not amount to much. Once you start destroying roads and blocking roads, you become a nuisance to the society around you. So it may help grab the public attention and force companies to respond. But now the problem is it may also alienate the public who find the tactics very disruptive. And as a result, they will not support your cause. It's the same thing I have seen, like, let me give an example of what's happening in Kenya. When they're tear gassed by the police officers, they would offer shelter for them to hide, because that was a peaceful protest and people were just making their demands clear and they were just calling things out as they are. But immediately, people started becoming disruptive, destroying streetlights, blocking roads. It brought a negative image to the whole movement, and people started alienating themselves from protesters. Now you're having cases where protester is shot, but the hospitals don't want to open doors to them. Not because they don't want to treat them, because it's becoming disruptive and it's no longer fitting in the agenda that you're trying to push, which is peaceful protest or peaceful way of bringing attention to an issue that you would want the public policy makers to be aware about or the corporations to be aware about. So I still hold fast on the point that disruptive and radicalization of climate justice is wrong, and it's something that people should not engage in. It ceases. You cannot correct a wrong with another wrong. Two wrongs do not make a right. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Welcome back, Lucy. We were talking about the radicalization of climate actions for justice. So if you have any thoughts, so far we had Baggy and Nangila advocating for more peaceful and thoughtful ways rather than more radical ways like blocking roads and disrupting the environment. So
Like, I want Annabelle, were you ready to say something? Or I can speak after.
Sure. Maybe I'll just add a short line. I think this is where creativity jump in. There are a lot of ways that we can do. Of course, we have to think about ultimate goal. What is your goal? You want to raise awareness. You want to let people to like concerned about this issue, and I think there are a lot of ways. So rather than the radical way, for me, I see people, let's say musicians, Coldplay, they are doing something, they have a huge effect to the whole music industry. They make songs about it, they change the way of hosting the concert or etc. So I think everyone can try to like pick their brain, and also collaboration is very important in climate action. If you say you are not good at like coming up with new ideas, I think it would be great to collaborate with people in different working groups or people in the creative industry, so that we can still achieve the same goal, but at the same time not damage to the environment or even the heritage or art pieces. Yeah. So Lucy, passing the time to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with the other perspective shared. I also feel that we need to learn from the past. We need to learn from, you know, the tragedies of war and violence, and create a future that really treasures life. And that for me means, you know, trying to create harmony, trying to do things that seek out harmonious coexistence rather than division. And that takes a whole lot of inner strength to be able to kind of break the cycle of violence in one's own life, first of all. You know, the thoughts that we tell ourselves, the thoughts that we have about other people, I think it really starts from cultivating a deep appreciation to non-violence in our own lives. And that is a strength that unfortunately we don't see so much in among today's, you know, people, myself included. And I'm really trying to start with there and to really seek paths that are committed to harmony and not violence, because violence is prevalent everywhere in our society, even from, you know, what we buy. If we look at global value chains, for example, global production chains, there's just violence at the core, I feel. Not, it doesn't have to be direct, you know, fighting, but structural violence, abuse of the dignity of life is just rife in our society. And I think that what we really need to, each of us to do, is cultivate a deep commitment to nonviolence. And I'm also really kind of deeply thinking about what it means to leave no one behind. You know, this kind of the sustainable development goals, the core spirit is the promise to leave no one behind. And I think a lot of people are still trapped in old ways of thinking. And that's what ultimately, I think, you know, brings out fear and, you know, discomfort and other things. So really, to leave no one behind, for me, it's about really having dialogue with others and trying to, you know, educate, which Nanjila spoke a lot about as well, and Bangi also educating and really ensuring that we're building a more compassionate, kind world where everybody can, and everyone can move together in that direction.
Great, thank you so much. It makes me think of the concept of a culture of peace that has that rose at some point, and its opposition to a culture of war. And like currently we are living in a culture of war, and how can we transition from a culture of war to a culture of peace, and peace inwards and outwards. And it's actually time to end that webinar. So I would like to thank everyone so much. So first of all, the speakers, Bangi, Nangila, Annabelle, and Lucy, for your time and for your experiences and your insights. It was so, I was so happy to have you here. And thank you so much for people who attended. Thank you, Temple of Understanding. Yes, for the co-organization of that webinar, and thank you to everyone in the audience and the interns. I don't know if Darcy, you want to say some closing words?
I'm just going to, can you hear me? Yeah, I'm just going to be very quick and thank everybody who participated as a member of the board and also as a member of a different generation. I heard today so much important stuff, not just about interfaith, but it just happened again. What did I do?
It's the hand gesture.
Okay, anyway, I'll keep my hands down. But the intergenerational, and maybe that should be a topic, because I know that the way we transition leadership, it's not just dumping it on the younger generation, but how do we salvage that which works, right? And improve and refine what doesn't. So maybe that ought to be the topic of one of our webinars. Well, I'll think about it. And I'd stay focused to the website and to the e-blast, particularly of note on October 10th, we will have our annual forum, and the details will be available, but that's something that I think everyone who spoke here today and those of you who are listening will also find great interest, because it's interfaith, it's intergenerational, it's intercultural. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, Flora, for keeping us all on track.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Good night, Annabelle. I think it's close to midnight. Good day. Yes, good day, good afternoon, good evening. Yes. Thank you so much, everyone.
Who was
And
supposed to end that?
hope to see you soon, anywhere.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for everything and have a good day. We'll meet again.